You all have it open? Y'all all on the same board with me? All right. First, I just want to cover the ideas. Like, although you do not need to know American history to do well on this writing, there are degrees that help. For instance, when you take a look at the beginning here, if you are aware what the National American Suffrage Association is, or the suffrage movement, why can't I say that right now? Suffrage movement, thank you. If you're aware of what that is, you're going to be a little bit more aware of what they're talking about in the essay at times, right? Does anyone know what it is? The women's suffrage movement is.
Yes.
Yeah, what is it?
It super shortly. It was when women fought for the right to vote for the 19th.
It's just for the right to vote, right? For the woman's right to vote in the United States of America. That's really, to put it even shorter. So having her be someone who's speaking in this organization that is trying to get the women's right to vote, that will tie into the actual essay at some point. But again, it's not 100% necessary for you to know that to do well on this essay. But being aware of American history helps. It turns out this is a very American-centric class for this, I don't know, American curriculum. I don't know why. I was just using irony, and the two ironic boys are, I mean, they are deep into it, adorably. Seriously. In the video I showed last week at the end of the week, talking about lines of reasoning, it kind of split this essay up into 3 sections, right? It had just kind of introducing what the argument is, and like giving some factual information, kind of introducing the idea of the child labor laws in the country. And then it gave some other things. But like starting off your essay in chronological order is usually the most important. Like starting it off in chronological order is important. And starting off by just talking about the experience of these children working in cotton mills, increasing. It just talks about what they're doing at the very beginning. And here I just had Sally point out, what was your rhetorical device? Epinabasis was on the SAT this weekend, apparently. But hey, so is it in this essay?
I noticed it too. I completely forgot the word.
And who? No one cares about the word.
Okay, great.
If you explain what it's doing, that's all that's really important. But here we have it again. Tonight while we sleep, and at the very end, it ends off here as well. Well, I mean, it really brings you in to be sympathetic, right? Like, I get to go to sleep tonight, or in an AP class. So I know you're not asleep. Amy might be.
She's not asleep.
Just slowly getting there.
I'm brave and strong, smart.
Lovely human, even.
Exactly.
But talking about how we get to sleep tonight. Tonight, well, we sleep. What are these girls and boys doing? Working. Are they working? Are they like making great business deals and making tons of money? How are they working? Not great ways, right? So reinforcing that, bringing us in by saying like, oh, you should feel really bad because you get to sleep tonight, and then reinforcing it again at the very end is very powerful, I think. It really has an emotional emphasis on what you get to do, and even today, you should be aware that, yeah, that's probably happening now too. Maybe not here, but definitely in some places in the world. And then talking about how the benefits of living in certain states. Oh, hey, guess what? You only have to work 8 hours tonight.
Okay, am I allowed to just go on a slide that divide about Mason Dixon?
We're going to stop you right there. Just what was the thesis of this essay, do you think? Anyone? Not you.
Okay, I figured.
Anyone else? Hannah Young. Sally. Right. To something like that. To improving her working conditions, or to like install laws and voting rights for people to get rid of it entirely. Right. What I see you doing is going off a little bit from the message. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying what you're saying isn't important.
I have more, not about that.
Good, but be careful, because interpreting a separate message away from the main idea of the article could lead you to just talking about other things, which is, we really want you to stay on point with these essays.
This is too far off, and just really quick. So another part of the thesis could be that they basically want to accomplish some sort of change or revolution in the number of children working in factories, giving them back their right to an education and a child,
Yes.
which she states, and that could be tied. I'm going too far with the whole.
The could be's are the problem. Stay away from the could be's.
But it's not a could be. It's in the passage. She directly she could have used any other northern state, but she used the southern state to not say. So she doesn't alienate those communities of predominantly Black people.
Right.
And apart from her cause.
Is there a chance that she's just talking about places that have particularly bad child labor laws? Is there a chance that New Jersey was also mentioned as a particularly bad state to be in as a child, and that? Yeah, I know. Can argue something like to avoid getting off topic, and that's kind of what you're doing. Getting off topic is pretty bad.
I'm aware of that. It's how I write.
I know. It's how you think. But the simpler topic is what we want to focus on here, right? We don't want to get into the nuance of things. We don't want to write a research paper about how this. You could probably write a research paper about what you're talking about, right? But in the end, you would write 17 research papers in a book because you couldn't stay on one topic either. Looking at what we have here, we really want to just focus on her intention in talking about how she wants the reader to interpret what we're reading. Right? So even though I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong, it's not the easiest answer. It's not the simplest answer.
I studied the passage for a while before I got it.
And when we do get into those things, when we do talk about like these separate places that people are working, and the mention of little white girls, I don't think that was necessarily a shot at African Americans and slavery per se. I think that was a shot at her audience, who are going to be predominantly white people that want to really support other, like they don't want to imagine someone looking like them or their daughters being treated that way.
That was not my eyes the whole state slavery.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Don't stress. On that, when you take a look at further things, slightly weaker point would be just like some wordplay that she has here. Enjoy the pitiful privileges, Pitiful privilege would be an oxymoron. Yeah. But I don't think it's one of the best choices to make. It does stand out because it's alliteration. It's an oxymoron. It sounds nice.
Imagery is a huge one.
Mm-hmm. Not yet. Let me get through the essay first, and then I'll hear what you guys have to say. Irony. A pitiful privilege would also be an irony, yes. Most oxymorons are ironies. Maybe all. You can kind of look at a strict juxtaposition here, talking about small girl carrying her pail of midnight luncheon as happier people carry their day of midday luncheon. This direct contrast of like a small girl eating her lunch at midnight, while a more privileged person would be able to eat their lunch at noon, like we all do. Then she gets into a couple of rhetorical questions, right? Well, the first one's definitely a rhetorical question. So hypophora is ask a question and answer it afterwards.
Oh, well, then a rhetorical one where you answer the question, or answer the question.
You answer the question with the question, yes. So if you are, yeah. Well, it does have an answer.
But it's like, expresses something that's not easy to find or not easy to decide.
Yes, but if you're making an argument and you're asking a rhetorical question, it's because you're directing the reader to respond in the way you want them to respond, right? They're already agreeing with you by you asking the question. And by having them agree with you, that's you're persuading them, right? If the mothers and teachers of Georgia could vote, what would Georgia legislature have refused? Would the Georgia legislature have refused every session for the last 3 years to stop the work in the mills of children under the age of 12, under 12 years of age? Would they have done that? Of course they would have stopped that, right? There's no other answer. I mean, as the argument is moving forward, I mean, I suppose you could say like, maybe not. Maybe the mothers love having their children go off to work because it brings in extra income, but it seems unlikely that that's the answer you're going to come to the conclusion of, right? Would the New Jersey legislature have passed that shameful repeal bill enabling girls of 14 years to work all night if mothers in New Jersey were until the mothers get blah, blah, blah. So there's the before. She responds after she says the question. He's kind of answering both questions in a lot of ways. But after you already agree with her, she then gives you her answer, right? And then later, she starts going in on what the children do. Children make our shoes in the shoe factories, knit our stockings, our knitted underwear in the knitting factories. They spin and weave cotton in the cotton mills. And why does she go on listing all these things? In what way? Yes. She's appealing to pathos by expressing like every single thing that they would be wearing at this time. Belts, hats, shoes, they were made by children. If you think this does not affect you, if the audience is thinking like, well, my child's not working, well, or I'm not responsible for these children that are working, you are by buying these things. You're responsible by supporting it with your money, right? And that does bring a reader in and think, oh, damn. But by the way, are we still doing that? Yeah. We absolutely are. A lot of the clothes we buy and a lot of the electronics we may get probably have some degree of child labor. We're awful.
Well, one of our things.
Yeah, how bad is the world, everybody? So bad. Then at the end, there's a call to action. Hypophora again. What can we do to free our consciences? There is one line of action which we can do much. Enlist the working men